Alright fellas, here we are back in Pokemon Masters, and it is time for the Dojo Gloria and Signet Suit Lysander Summoner Skip video. And they're obviously re-releasing in, relation to the high score event, and honestly, the fact that they are the rerunning units for this event and not like, I'd have to think of some random water type Pokefair unit? Okay, yeah. Let me actually think about that real quick. When it comes to some water type Pokefair unit, what options do we actually have? Because I actually really don't remember. Signet Suit Blue. Yeah, Signet Suit Blue is like probably a pretty good one to know. The fact that we're getting these two, Lysander and Gloria here, rerunning, says a lot about what we're going to be facing here for this event, right? Like, this event could definitely be pretty difficult just because of the fact that these super strong units are going to be rerunning both together as well, which is just insane, right? And we don't know too much about the water type gear event. We do know, okay, we do know quite a lot, but when it comes to actual stats and how this stuff, goes in relation, it's more of a hands-on thing, right? Like, we know that there are certain ways to get points. We know how the strength system works and how it increases, but we don't really know, in-game exactly how big the numbers are going to be, in terms of the damage that we take, the damage we do, all that stuff, right? So we just kind of have to wait and see how much, how it works and whatnot. But the fact that these two units are rerunning together says a lot about what it may be like to experience this event's difficulty, right? Also, we're getting the water type gear event and all that stuff as well, which is, nice, because it powers up these characters and all of water types in general, right? Eugene, literally, my go-to water type is Eugene. Eugene, Signet Suit Chris, Lana, Nessa, Chris, these units, all these water type characters, Champion Serena, all these characters getting, good power-ups from the water type gear, which is great as well. But the main point of this video, of course, is to see, should you summon or skip for the Lysander and Dojo Gloria banner? I would say this answer is not super clear-cut, but I am leaning more towards the yes on the summon side, because I've recommended people to not summon on certain things, and I have a certain reason to as to that. When it comes to certain units, right? Like, when it came to summoning for Eugene, I told people probably not to summon for him because there's a lot of good water type damage dealers like Signet Suit Lysander. He was an example. Dojo Gloria, another good example. And just, a lot of good strikers in general, a lot of good water type damage dealers in general, right? And now those water type damage dealers that are on the same level, if not better than him, are rerunning, right? And it's kind of getting to that point. And when it came to Signet Suit Silver, I didn't recommend people to summon for him because he was very close to Dojo Gloria in terms of her utility, and the fact that Dojo Gloria is just a little bit stronger, in my opinion. And she's got, a little bit more value to her overall, and now here is Dojo Gloria. So, I mean, why would I recommend you to not summon for a unit and then provide a reason in the form of another unit, and then not recommend you to summon for that other unit? I've probably done it before, but I do think that these units here have quite a lot of value to them for numerous reasons, right? One, it's a Pokefair banner. The rates are going to be good. The way that these dual Pokefair reruns work is that 95% of the time, I can't think of a case where it hasn't been like this, but there probably has been, right? The rates for a dual Pokefair featured banner is not split by the number of units that are on the banner, right? Technically it is, but it's not split conventionally, right? You would think, okay, there's 2% Pokefair rates, there's 2 units, it'd be 1% each, right? No, it's actually 1.5% each, just because, right? And that makes these Pokefair reruns very, very valuable because you're only experiencing a 0.5% individual drop rate for each unit, but your overall chances of getting a new unit or a new featured unit is 1% higher, meaning with Dojo Gloria and Lysander both having 1.5% pull rates, it's a 3% overall pull rate for a featured unit here, which is obviously a percent higher than 2, right? That's a normal Pokefair rates. So these dual banners definitely have very, very good value to them in the fact that, like, these units have generally higher pull rates as a whole. Maybe, obviously, individually, the unit pull rates are a little bit worse, right? It's 0.5% worse, but I still think that it makes up for it in the fact that the overall featured pull rate is a little bit higher, or a decent bit higher, right? I thought the same thing whenever Emma and Ingo got their reruns, because those units are very, very good as well, still are now, and they really were back then, and they were at a 3% pull rate themselves as well, I believe. So that was very, very crazy, and this right here is very, very good as well. But when it comes to the reasons to summon for this banner, Dojo Gloria is a great water type damage dealer, tech nuke, tech utility. She can debuff defense as a base ability here every time her water or her surging strikes lands. Obviously, she can do it here with Iron Head in close combat too. She can debuff it by 1, but the fact that, you know, Punching Strike works is it works with each hit in a multi-hit move. And since this attack hits 3 times, it's going to debuff the enemy defense by 3 in 1 turn, which is amazing. You know, of course, if you use Surging Strikes, which is not a low base power move here, by the way, right? 3 out of 5, 400, 44 base power, attacks 3 times in a row, 44 times 3, that's what, 132? That's pretty good damage, right? Pretty good. And being a 3-gauge move, pretty on par with most 3-gauge damage moves, right? Iron Head, of course, 3-gauge move, 100 damage, close combat, 136 damage. These moves are, you know, Iron Head has worse base power than Surging Strikes once it hits all 3 times. Of course, it has 100% accuracy as well, so you're not going to be worrying about, you know, missing moves like Triple Axle does. And then close combat here has a little bit higher base power, but it has the caveat of lowering your defenses. And generally, off-type, Surging Strikes is just going to do more damage, right? Or just be more beneficial to run. And she's also got Recharging Strike 4, making her very gauge efficient, 50% chance of restoring gauge every time she lands a move, or even land a move in a multi-hit, with a multi-hit tag, right? So, potentially, if you land all 50% of these rolls, you know, all these coin flips, if you land them on, you know, in your favor, you could potentially restore all 3 gauge that you use with Surging Strikes here. And, you know, on the lower end of luck, you will probably restore still 1. You know, you've got a pretty good chance of restoring at least 1 gauge here every time this, you know, you roll these 50% odds here, which is still really good. And then Critical Sync always lands her sync moves as critical hits, which is amazing, right? The except in circumstances is like vigilance and whatnot, so that makes this ability just great because, you know, you don't need those crit buffs. The move will always crit. It won't, you know, go through that 70% accuracy check like having +3 crit does, but obviously it cannot hit through vigilance, but that's generally not going to be a problem anyway, right? And if it is, well, the battle's just unfair as it is, so. And then obviously Surging Strikes also has guaranteed crits in its effects, which makes it better than these moves as well, because you would have to actually buff your crit in order to actually crit with Iron Head or Close Combat here. So generally, you're going to be running Surging Strikes, right? And off of a 487 attack stat, her trainer move here raises her attack by 3 and reduces sync countdown by 1. This can be great for not having to quad Q, because you can use this once, have +3 attack, sync with the support EX, you know, Dojo Gloria, another ally, whatever you want to do, and then you can use her trainer move again, get your last 3 attack that you need, and you can basically activate what's Adrenaline for the most part, and get that sync countdown, and you won't have to quad Q in order to get your next sync move in, which is great, right? And then, of course, her innate multiplier here is the more the enemy's defense is lower, the greater the power of the attack. She debuffs defense with extreme amounts of ease, and obviously, not only is this a 100% multiplier here, but it also just does more damage because the enemy's defense is already lowered. You know, physical moves do more damage when the enemy's defense is lowered, so this is going to be doing extra plus, you know, the 100% power buff here, which is great. And of course, you know, Tech EX, right? That's just going to add extra base power here, 330, great, right? And of course, she's got, you know, the Dynamax here. Sorry about that, but G-Max, you know, Rapid Flow here. It's got 440 base power. It guarantee lands crits, of course, like all of her other abilities do. It ignores passive skills that would reduce the damage of the attack, so stuff like HP Advantage 4, you know, like that in the latest event that came out for, no, not the latest event. I think it was the Summer Tate and Liza event. It had HP Advantage 4 or Healthy Advantage, which required status conditions, right? But, you know, we didn't need that if we were using Dojo Gloria, because she, you know, ignores the damage reduction, right, which is great. It's like Piercing Blows. I think that's what Piercing Blows does. I forget. But she's also got ignores passive skills that will protect the target against a critical hit. So Vigilance is actually going to be ignored by this ability, meaning you've got that one good strong attack that's going to be, you know, ignoring that, and it'll guarantee land as a crit. So you can do a lot of raw damage like this, and it could potentially, you know, win you the battle. And ignores the target's damage guard next effect, which is just great, of course, as well. You know, it would be annoying for your enemy. You know, you queue up this Dynamax move here, and then the enemy, you forget the enemy had damage guard up, and you're like, well, shit, great, I do 0 damage. But no, thankfully, this hits through it, which is great. Of course, you got Max Knuckle and Max Steel Spike here to raise defense and attack for all allies, but generally, you're going to use just G-Max Rapid Flow here. There's no real reason to not use, or to use the other moves, unless you're like maybe in like a gauntlet scenario or something, and you really need these buffs for whatever reason. But generally, you're going to go for the G-Max Rapid Flow. Looking at our grid here, I'm not going to go super in-depth over this. I want to make this video not short, but, you know, short enough. She's got Hunter's Instinct for a multiplier, which requires speed buffs, but she has Tripping Strike 9 here, which, of course, if you know anything about Sigma Suit Silver, he's also got that ability. So this is just basically doing what he does, but then she also debuffs defense consistently instead of, you know, a little bit more inconsistently like Silver does. Silver also needs 4 out of 5 in order to debuff defense, by the way, so keep that in mind. So she's already doing basically what he's doing, but a little bit better. She's also got Relentless and Insult to Injury for Sync New multipliers and DPS multipliers. And yeah, you can just pick up this grid right here. You will have 2 damage multipliers, a Sync multiplier, of course, just requiring defense debuffs, which is just fine. And then, of course, if you really wanted to go for some other stuff, you have Max Double Down, Iron Head Aggravation for some flinches, which is great. Racing Rain, I wouldn't pick this up. Super Duper Effective 2 and Double Down 2. This Super Duper Effective 2 could be good if you're, you know, using Iron Head or Close Combat on type, but generally you're not going to do that. You'll probably just off type with Surging Strikes, so that's good. But Double Down, not really that great. Who cares? Honestly, you don't really need any more super effective power, considering how strong Gloria already is. And then she's also got stuff like Adrenaline, which I wouldn't really pick up because, again, you have the trainer move here with Sync Countdown. Stacking Strike, which raises her crit. I also wouldn't really pick this up. Just bring a crit support. Who cares? And then Endurance, that can be good for sure, but, you know, not the biggest thing in the world. And, of course, another Sync multiplier. But generally, when it comes to her grid, you're going to be running something like this. Maybe pick up this attack node. This is generally what you want to be running. This is obviously going to be looking really good, right? And, of course, coming off of a very high attack stat, Gloria is going to be looking very, very strong here. Very, very great utility with how she debuffs defense and speed, and is just overall a good unit. And Lysander, let's look at him. I may go a little bit faster with him. 400 special attack, pretty good special attacking stat, of course. Steam Eruption, a 4 gauge, 174 base power, or 172 base power move. Very, very strong there as well. Heat Wave, you're generally not going to be using this. Don't really worry about it too much. There actually is the Super Duper Effective 9 for Heat Wave, so if you want to do super effective fire damage, Heat Wave may be viable with its AoE and whatnot, but generally you'll probably just be sticking to Steam Eruption. And then there's Buddy Hydro Pump here, which is basically a nuclear bomb as a sync move, or a buddy move, right? It's 1 gauge, or 1 use, 3 gauge, hits all opponents with no reduced damage, by the way. Yeah, the power of this move is not lowered even if there are multiple targets, so it's like Yuzin's Buddy Surf, right? Except this can only be used once, but it hits a little bit harder. The activation condition is when there is a burned opponent on the field. He's got a 30% chance to burn here, but he's also got Hostile Environment 3, meaning this chance is going to 120%, so, you know, guaranteed burns with Steam Eruption, and the chance of burning with Heat Wave is going up to 40%, but, you know, split target, so calculate that however you need to. But still, getting that burned opponent is not going to be difficult at all. And the deactivation condition is when there's no longer any burned opponents on the field of play. And the power of the move is not lowered, as we stated. It applies the super effective next effect to the user, applies the free move's next effect to the user, which is going to be great because 4 gauge move with Steam Eruption here. And it increases his special moves next by a number of stat ranks equal to how many burned opponents are on the field of play. So basically, if you have 1 burned opponent, after using this move, you'll get +1 special moves next. If there's 2, you'll get +2 special moves next, and, you know, so on, right? Obviously, you can't have multiple burned opponents unless it's like co-op. I don't think enemies can actually swap out in co-op though, so you can only have, you know, 3 burned opponents at a time, plus it has to be on the field of play. So max of 3 special moves next there after, you know, using this move. And of course that's going to be looking really, really good, right? Because you could use Trainer move here, which, by the way, raises his accuracy by 1, which buffs makes it so these 2 moves here have guaranteed accuracy, or, you know, guaranteed hits. Raises his crit by 3, you know, just out the gates, and it applies the free move's next effect to himself, which is, you know, great abilities, right? So you can use your Trainer move here, and then you can, you know, burn the middle, burn the sides with, you know, Heat Wave or Steam Eruption, however you want to do it, and then you can use your Buddy Hydro Pump, probably KO the sides instantly, and do a crap load of damage to the middle, right? So this guy's going to be hitting extremely hard, and it's going to be extremely impressive, right? And of course, you saw he had no special attack buffs here, but he does have Grand Entry 4 here, so he's got +4 special attack on entry, so he's very self-sufficient in that regard too. Maybe you want to get a special attack support in order to actually, you know, max him out. Of course, you may want to run Sigma Suit Chris or Neo Champion Caleb, just because, you know, water type unit, get that rain in, get those special moves next in, all that good stuff, and he'll be hitting so damn hard. And then Searing Surge 5 here, 50% power buff to his moves and sync moves whenever the target is burned, so that's just great free base power right there, you know, extra damage, which is always amazing, and, you know, as we said, hostile environment 3 for guaranteed burns on Steam Eruption and higher burn chances on Heat Wave. Obviously, he's a striker, so no innate multiplier here for his Hydro Pump here. Sync move, but that's fine. And looking at his grid here, obviously 2 out of 2 out of 5 you get Raging Rain, which is solid. Scorching Sink as well, and those are really the only notable things. Obviously, you can get Special Attack plus 20 here, which is that can be pretty nice, right? So that's not too bad. And then some stuff like Burn Synergy, which is also good. So 2 out of 5 actually gives you a 30% power multiplier to your normal moves, and then a 20% multiplier to your sync moves, which is solid overall in my opinion. So not the worst thing. But then, of course, 3 out of 5 being as good as it is. You got Furious Brain for more DPS. Scorching Sink 9, a 90% multiplier, which is great. Burn Boost Special 2, 30% chance of raising his special moves next when attacking an opponent that is burned. So that can be even greater for more special moves next, right? And then he's got Brain Gain 9 here on his trainer move, which, you know, if you want to pick that up, go for it. Get yourself some special moves next. Ramp up 2 on his trainer move, you know, to top out that special attack by himself, which, of course, can also be very, very nice. Just depends on how you want to do it, right? Completely up to you. And then, you know, trainer move NPR, which does not matter. And then Heat Wave has Scorching Touch 4, 50% burn chance, which can be, of course, very, very good if you want to do a quick AoE burn. You can definitely pick that up and make use of it, but I would really recommend going with probably like a Scorching Sink Furious Brain grid here. Of course, he's also got Adrenaline. If you want to run that, that's fine too, but it just really depends on how you want to build Lysander here, right? You could maybe pick up something like this. It really just depends how you want to do it. Maybe you don't want to pick up this or Raging Rain and you want to go for this, and then maybe pick up something like that and get yourself a better Sync nuke, right? Either way, Furious Brain is a great damage multiplier. He's got Raging Rain and Furious Burn Synergy as well. And of course, he's got the innate Searing Surge 5 here. And of course, Scorching Sink 9 is a very, very strong nuke multiplier as well. So Lysander is an amazing water type DPS unit, and he can be hitting really, really hard at any given time. So definitely keep that in mind as well. So with that in mind, you've got these 2 monsters of damage dealers here, or just utility in general as well, in Gloria's case. But yeah, you got these 2 monsters of units here in a Rerun banner. I would say that's pretty valuable to pick up, because not only are they boosted units for the high score event here, they're going to be super useful in your future runs. If you need defense debuffs, other than running, no, you're not going to run Lucian, because Lucian debuffs special defense. But if you're not going to be running like Kukui or something, somebody with Leer, you're going to be running Dojo Gloria for that side DPS, because even without Rain, if you're not running a Rain team or anything, Gloria's still going to be hitting pretty hard with the Surging Strikes and the max move here, right? She's still going to be hitting pretty hard even off type, so she's going to help you get that extra damage in, and of course she's going to be doing her main job of buffing defense, which is great, right? And being gauge efficient on her own, so her 3 gauge move here isn't going to be too hindering on you. So Gloria's got that great stuff there, and obviously if you manage to pull Lysander as well, he's going to be an amazing addition to your water type strikers, or just strikers in general. He's going to be a great off type option depending on how many copies you get of him. Even at 1 copy, he's going to be hitting extremely hard because he has that innate multiplier here, and of course he's going to get all the special moves next, and he's still got this nuclear buddy move here, right? So he's going to be hitting very, very hard just out the rip, even without, you know, multipliers from a grid or anything like that. Same thing with Gloria, of course, with her max move and her high base power Surging Strikes, and her innate Sync nuke and multiplier and whatnot. So overall, would I recommend you summon? Probably, but of course you can definitely make your own decisions. I do not I do understand people who would say you may skip this, because the anniversary is coming up in, at this point, a month, a little under 2 months. Under 2 months, like probably about a month and 2 weeks is when we'll get the rough information for the anniversary units. Obviously, you know, August is going to be some big bait, right? Because they're going to want to bait you out, make you summon before the anniversary. The Galar Arc Part 2 is coming as well during, you know, late July, early August. And it's going to be, you know, bunch of hype stuff that's going to make you want to summon, so keep that in mind as well. And obviously it's going to be the run-up for the anniversary, so they're going to rerun some probably pretty powerful units, like maybe the Johto Trio, Zygarde Serena is a good one, or like Signasuit Steven may rerun. Who knows, right? You may get a lot of things that you want to come back in August, so keep that in mind before you make your decision to summon for this banner. But overall, I do think these units have great value. Lysander, even though he's a water type, and same thing with Gloria, even though she's water type, these units are amazing off type and will apply a lot to your teams that can, you know, really help you out in not only this high score water event, but it can also help you out in the stadium or Legendary Gauntlet or anything like that, and will just give you a lot of ease when it comes to making different clears. So yeah, I digress. I'm going to end the video there, guys. I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know if you're going to be summoning for this Water-type rerun banner for Dojo Gloria and Suit Lysander down in the comments below, and I'll see you all later.